So I thought I'd record a second one of these blogs, trying to find a part of the room where the lighting is favorable, but it's not happening. So we make do. Um, yeah, it's been a long day. It's been a very strange day actually because I kept my promise from the last time I was talking, and I did the videos. And it was one of those things where you're sort of, 7 or 8 videos in, and you're like, oh, actually, it's not too bad. I'm actually enjoying this. It's not as torturous as it used to be, and that's good. That's sort of new for me. I didn't think not that I don't enjoy it. It's just I never thought I'd actually find that motivation I lost. I thought it would take a lot longer, but it hasn't. So that's great. So I'm happy with that. Yeah. I don't know. It's very strange. All this stuff is very strange for me. Um, I'm sort of coming at everything like this a bit too late, probably. But yeah, it's interesting. I do like doing it. But I'm sort of caught between a rock and a hard place at times because um, it's not like any other project I've worked on, whether it was like a thesis or a book or some piece of a published article or something like that, where you're kind of like, I don't want to do this. I hate doing it. But if you don't do it, or if you're not in the mood for it, you can kind of soldier through and still produce something at the end of it. But if you're recording videos and you're not feeling it, or you're kind of self-conscious, or you're going through a lot of anxious thoughts, it's like it shows on the camera, obviously. Like, if you're upset, or um, you're not in the mood, or you don't want to do anything, that's on the camera forever. And that sort of authenticity you have when you're doing the videos just fades away, and you're aware of it because you're looking at yourself. I'm looking at myself at all times when I'm recording, so there's no getting away from it. And that's a conscious decision on my part because I need to know if I'm in shot, if I'm in focus, and it's good feedback on the fly. But there is a part of me that's like, I can see every single thing wrong with me, or I can see everything wrong with what I'm saying, and that's played back live to me when I'm recording. So you do have to, and I do it at times in the videos. I do adopt a another personality, the Dr. Bill personality, which is like, you do become this other person. And it was the only way I could navigate it, was to split myself into two and just say, well, I'm playing a character. I put the glasses on, and I look like a different person in my head. So it's not like you're sort of fooling yourself. Like, you still know what you're doing, but at the same time, you're kind of saying to yourself, well, this is saving me in some way, because I need to find some sort of common ground. I need to figure out a way that allows me to hide in plain sight while also producing videos, and that's tricky at times. So yeah, you wonder sometimes if it does work okay. Yeah, I guess the vlog is always really important for me to keep, because it does keep me on the straight and narrow. I don't know what I'm always going to talk about from time to time. There might be just rambling crap. It's kind of like therapy. You kind of go in and you just talk nonsense for about 40 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes is where all the good stuff comes out. And I'm reminded a lot of that when I do these videos, because you kind of reach a point in your life. Like, I'm 41 in 2 weeks or so, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life most of the time. And I'm always honest about it. I always tell people when they ask me, they're like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't know. Most of my time is spent daydreaming. It was okay in my 20s and 30s. But when you're in your 40s, you're kind of saying to yourself, okay, well, I can't keep kicking the can down the road. I've been running career projections for 10 years, and it was good life, very good to me, but it's not sustainable. And AI and other software programs are always at the door. It doesn't matter if they work or if they're good. The point is people use them, and therefore they don't use my services. And in doing so, say like for instance, some people have used AI to help them with their thesis, and it doesn't work out well. And it doesn't matter. I get no solace from someone, failing their thesis, obviously. But all that stuff does is just shows me that people are going to use that sort of program, and they're not going to use people like me. And there's no point to me arguing or giving out about AI. It's an incredible tool, and I welcome it, But it will destroy my business, and it has destroyed many aspects of my business, and has forced me into a YouTube lifestyle. Because for me, I've sort of hemmed and hawed about doing these YouTube videos, because it's much easier for me just to sit in front of a camera and go, here's all the tips and tricks, and to eventually monetize the channel, and please God, it kicks off and it takes off, and it becomes some sort of an earner for me. Because the only way you can survive in an age where technology is moving faster than you is to use that technology yourself, and to ride that wave with it. It'd be stupid for me to produce videos that were like, don't use ChatGPT, or Elicit, or what's the other ones, Cite, all those ones, or Mendeley, or even the referencing software. It's pointless me saying, don't use this, use traditional humans, because why would you? It makes no sense to me why you would use traditional humans to compile evidence lists for your literature review, when a computer can do it much faster for you, and you can just double check it yourself. And the videos I'm producing are more geared towards how to use AI. Now that's essentially me nailing my own coffin shut, but that's okay. It's like 10 years is a good run. It's 10 years in June this year, and I'm not going to end the business in June. But I am conscious that the business has a very short life, and this is me playing the violin on the Titanic as it sinks, essentially. It's me kind of saying like, everyone off the ship, but I'll play it off, and I'm okay with that. I made my peace with it, that this life I have at the moment is changing, and it's not going to be there forever. And the nice lifestyle I had, working for myself, making up my own hours, working from anywhere, that's going to go at some point, and I may have to enter into the workforce again. And I don't know if someone like me, I touched upon the last video, is not so much able. That is an issue, but is someone like me welcome back into a workforce? There are reservations about hiring someone who's been self-employed for 10 years, who's been used to running everything and doing things their own way. So much so that they invented new ways of doing things their own way. And some companies might say, do you know what, we can use those skills to help with sales or whatever. But then I would say the majority of people might kind of say, I don't want him anywhere near that department because it's a well-oiled machine, and we don't need a new machine. We just need that machine to be well-oiled and maintained and kept going. Which I suppose the misconception is that people like me, people with PhDs or who work in the private sector for so long, we're quite happy to keep that well-oiled machine going. But you also have to realize that we have suggestions, and we don't switch off. And I think a lot of people I talk to, they do find that very hard, where you go into a team or a culture or an industry that hasn't really changed too much, and you get your foot in the door, and it kind of becomes stagnant a bit, because you're kind of like, well, I can't utilize my full skills here. And I get that. I get why people don't want you to use your full skills, because no one likes someone coming in and changing everything. There's a reason why these institutions have lasted so long. It's because it's a glacier. Things move very slowly, and they are moving. It may not appear that things are moving, but they are moving. And if someone like me comes in and says, let's just melt it, let's just ride the melted ice water from the glacier and see where that goes. That's okay in my own company and in the private sector, where, pop-up businesses are a dime a dozen. You can kind of say, well, look, I melted the glacier, 10 miles down the road. I'm here on the current of that. But I wouldn't expect to go into the public sector, like a county council or a civil service, and melt the glacier there. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's trying to figure out what to do. I'm not sort of. The business is still going. There is work coming in, obviously, and it's sustainable for me. But as I'm looking towards the future, in terms of pension, in terms of like even a mortgage and things like that, it's like, I don't know, it's like a lot of people in my generation, we've house insecurity, and we don't have too much savings, and a pension is sort of like things adults do, and it's funny because you are obviously an adult, but I find personally myself, being self-employed, being especially an online company, and being perceived as being faffing about, which I do. I am a habitual faffer. I will faff about the place, and live a carefree life. Because that's what I've built for myself. But I do see the sort of danger of you can't do that forever. And as you go on, you're like, well, I don't want to be in my 50s renting and faffing about. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was kind of saying, like, you do get to a point in your 40s where you kind of say to yourself, oh, I can't keep doing this anymore. I can't keep taking risks. But risks is heavily underlined there, because obviously I love taking risks, because it is part of the essential self-employment mentality, where you do take risks. And the YouTube channel is a big risk, because it costs a lot of money, and the return on investment is zero. One day it may pay off, but what if it doesn't? Well, I'm okay with that, but from a business point of view, it's absolute madness to do it. And in many ways, I'm like, hey, remember that service I offer on my website? Well, look, here it is for free on YouTube. And that's another issue as well. That's the risk you take, is that you put something up that people really want. You put up some how to do academic writing in 10 easy steps. And people are like, I don't need you anymore. Those 10 easy steps were enough for me. So I'm like, okay, that's another nail I've put into my own coffin. But if enough people see it, well, now you've got engagement on the channel, and now Now you got, okay, now I've got 1,000 subscribers, and now eventually I'm going to have up to 3,000 public watch hours. And now I can monetize the channel. So the more people that know about my secrets, the more my business goes downhill, but the more my YouTube channel goes up. So that's the tricky balance I have to do. I'm like, I'm always reminded of that Pirates of the Caribbean thing where like Johnny Depp is coming in on the ship and he's coming into dock and he's literally standing on the crow's nest and the boat has sunk at that point, and as he steps off, the rest of the boat sinks. And that's the way I look at career projections, is I'm literally riding it into the back to port. I've done enough damage to it, and the YouTube channel is basically the crow's nest. And at some point, my hope is I'll step off the crow's nest onto dry land to a new life, rather than just being like, I step off the boat and then look back at the water of where my business used to be and go, oh God, I can't believe I've done this. So yeah, it's I know there's a lot of people out there, and I would like to hear from people like that. Like that's part of the reason for doing the channel and doing these videos, is to reach out to people and see who's out there. I'm kind of hemming and hawing about doing a series where I interview people who've done PhDs to see how it worked out for them. Did it work out for them? I know a lot of people do PhDs and don't go into the academic lecturing route. And I'm always interested to see, did it work out for you? You know, did you, when you went back and got a doctorate, you may have had a counseling practice and you went back and said, I'm going to do a doctorate. Did that pay off for you? Was the return on investment good there? You might have had your own business. You might have, I dealt lots of CEOs of their own startup business and things like that. And they've done a PhD and they said, well, this will really help my business. And I'd love to hear if it did. Did it? You know, I don't know. Like, does having it's helped me out, but then I'm in the academic world. I couldn't imagine if I had a sales business in something completely different. And I said to myself, I'm going to go off and do a PhD. How that would benefit my business. I'm not sure if it would. I don't know. I'm always fascinated by people who do it, because it's a huge undertaking and you're literally, it's a cross you carry, and to put that cross up on your own shoulder is always fascinating to me. And yeah, so I mean, I think that's something I'm going to do eventually, is talk to people like that, because I think there is a lot of sort of misconceptions about doing a PhD and what it brings. There's the old classic line people used to say, and they still do say it. It's like, well, when I left school, all you needed was a leaving cert. And then eventually became, well, when I left school, all you needed was a degree. And then it became a master's. I'm not sure if it ever elevated to a doctorate. I've never seen a position where it was like, especially an entry-level position, or even a decent like middle management, or, you know, sort of, let's say like in terms of like the civil service or county council, like a grade 5 upwards. I've never seen a thing where they're like, well, you need a doctorate or you need a master's, desirable, you know, but not necessary, you know. So I'm wondering where it's all going. I don't know. It's like when my business started off, I dealt primarily with students who were just doing undergrad stuff. And then I got like a few master students here and there. And then I changed the business because I started to realize that a lot of people were reskilling and upskilling. My business was set up in 2014, and then Brexit happened shortly after. And then I started getting all these people who decided to change careers or restructure their career because of Brexit, and then because of other reasons as well. Another thing was COVID, which totally reinvigorated the business as well. But I was always interested to know if when those people came to me for reskill, like, oh, I need a master's, I need a diploma, or I need a doctorate to do this, I started to say to myself, do you know what? These are the people I should be actually targeting, because they're people who have careers, but also people who are incredibly time poor. Like, they have families, they have careers, They have loads of responsibilities. They're quite senior positions. Nurses, teachers, all those type of people, they're very time poor. I know the easy thing to do with teachers is to say, well, they have the summers off and they have loads of time off, but that's not true. It's not, and it's not true. I know people say it just to be, just to be. I can't say the word. I'm not gonna curse on my lovely vlog, but everyone is time poor, especially in this day and age. And the more and more free time we think we have, it's just taken up with like irrelevant crap. People are just addicted to their phones or addicted to Netflix. Choice anxiety, like what do I watch? You spend most of your time flicking through Netflix or flicking, and I'll throw it back to the study. Most people just flick through books. They don't actually read them. They go into the library and they're like, well, I looked through 10 books today. It's like, well, did you read it? Did you know what you were looking for? It's the Netflix effect, where it's like I didn't watch anything. I flicked. So that's always something to I'm conscious of and curious about. So yeah, it's an interesting crossroads in my life where I'm trying to figure out what to do. You definitely pick up bad habits when you're self-employed. I'd say like my health is just not great. It's good enough, but you've no routine really. You try and make yourself a routine, but you do crave that like 9 to 5 thing to some extent. You hate it in many respects, but you do crave something, because I can start work at 11, I can start work at 12, I can start work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I can finish at any time. I can work 10 hours a week, or I can work 90 hours a week, or I can take a week off. And that lack of routine bleeds into my diet, and that's always something I've always struggled with. And it's a hangover again from my PhD, where you get into a routine of thinking, okay, I'm able to write loads today, and I'm able to write like 1,000 words, 2,000 words. I better keep going. And then you skip dinner, and then you kind of say to yourself, I'll just eat biscuits today, or I'll just eat I'll get a takeaway on the way home. And I never got out of that. I never got out of it. And it's been like, I finished my PhD in like 2013, and I still have the same bad habits from it. Like, and I'm only lately have I managed to break out of it. And the videos do keep me on the straight and narrow, because I do have a tendency to just like yo-yo dieting. I kind of like put on a lot of weight and then I lose a lot of weight. And that's not an issue. I mean, that's sort of, well, it is an issue in many respects, but my bigger issue is like the amount of foods I'm not supposed to eat, but I will eat them. It's like poisonous for me. I'm like dairy and bread and all that sort of stuff. I'm not supposed to go near it. But when you're working long hours and you get into that PhD mindset where you're just like, I'm going to work throughout the night for no reason, you just have a sliced pan beside you, and you're just like, you're literally just eating bread, and then you went to the kitchen and you're just toasting it, and you're standing there and you're just thinking. And it is a hangover as well from smoking. Smoking was great for me thinking, and whenever I'm standing at the toaster just eating like loads of bread, I'm like, this is no different from me just having like the thing of toast in my mouth, just going like, oh yeah, great. But instead now it's just been replaced by loads of other stuff. But so this sort of diary, this reflective vlog here, I keep calling it a vlog. I mean, it's not technically a vlog. I'm not really I'm not doing much other than just sitting here looking at the screen. But this will help me, I hope, keep on the straight and narrow, because it was really good. I didn't think I'd be that demotivated the last time I was chatting. I was really worried, because I was like, well, I'm not going to bother doing the channel. And then I was like, okay, no, this actually works. I need to, as I said on that video, you need to clear a space before you start working on stuff. And I obviously had a lot of stuff, like a lot of anxieties about the channel, which I still do. It's still very hard at times to get up the motivation for it, because just thinking like, this could just go nowhere. And And in many ways, I haven't done it to go anywhere. You know, I mean, you're kind of be deluding yourself thinking it's ever going to be anything more than just, as I said, like the last hurrah of a dying business. But I do enjoy challenging myself, you know, and I'm torturing myself as well. You know, it's like I don't particularly like being in front of the camera or like there's no photos really of me out there. I'm like, I don't know, I've always been incredibly camera shy and anxious in front of the camera and just been hypercritical of myself. But I did notice when I got into my late 30s and 40s, I stopped caring about it. And it did really help a lot. You do learn a lot of stuff about yourself. Before I set up the channel, I was just sending crap to my friends, like just really weird videos. Not that weird. No, they weren't, don't get me wrong, they weren't, there wasn't any sort of, you know, you don't have to call the police or anything like that. But they were sort of like little skits of me like acting and just messing about. But they were odd, they were very strange. And I was looking at them and I was like, okay, well look, I obviously have, I've progressed along. I'm able to do this and not be overly self-conscious. But when I came to record the videos for the YouTube channel, I'm like, I can't, I just looked, it was way off. And it was way off because they were actually going nowhere. Like if you send a video to your friend, you kind of have this thing in your head where you're kind of laughing to yourself and like, oh, I can't wait till they, you know, see this and they're going to love this and all that. And you're in a good mood because you're like, I'm going to get instant feedback from this, good or bad. But when you do a video that goes to strangers for the most part, you're aware of that. So I feel like I'm a little bit more at ease on these vlogs because it's the format I'm used to, which is just off my phone. But that camera there, that's like a gun for me. Like when that's on, it's a completely different mood. And I notice that I talk much quicker on the camera, and I start shouting. Like I start really like talking really loud, and it's a strange phenomenon. But I noticed as time goes on that, especially with the videos I did today, like I did 6 videos or 8 videos today, and towards the end, I remember I was looking on the screen on the camera, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of like the vlog camera and the Canon camera back there, they're starting to merge and they're starting to look like they're both the same now. So it doesn't look like, you know, I foresee at some point that it's just going to be indistinguishable, that I'm just not going to think about it too much. And that's a valuable skill to have, and it's a valuable lesson to learn at any point in your life, you know. But I'm glad I learned it now. I'd hate to be like 60 or 70 and be like, oh, I should have done this when I was younger. I think this is the best time to be doing this sort of stuff because you do pick up a lot of experience in life. I think now is the best time to try and like make sense of it. And I think this channel, in whatever form it takes, the videos I'm producing, the videos I produced already, like it's funny because the format has changed already from them. Like the first few videos are very slick, but they're very confessional. It's like staring down the barrel of the lens, almost frozen to the chair. And I spent like, if it's a 10-minute video, I spent 4 to 5 hours editing that. I'm plugging in all the music and all that sort of stuff. Like I do all the editing myself. So that's another factor I have to put in the work hours. Is I have to sometimes turn work away to do the videos. So at all times I'm taking those risks. On the second round of videos, when I started talking about like PhD life, supervisor, the academic versus non-academic, talking about the motorway system, all that sort of stuff, I'm now leaning back in the chair a little bit and the camera's a little bit this way. And when I made those videos, I was like, oh, do you know what? It's actually, I can see a little bit of an improvement here of how I can maneuver this new space. And And then I look back in the older videos, like, oh my God, they look very stilted and stiff. Now I look back on the videos I made before Christmas, and I'm thinking the same stuff. I'm thinking they look really stiff now. So it's funny, your perspective does change as you go along. And that's the important thing. And that's the thing I've allowed myself. I've allowed myself that grace of, that period of time where it's okay to mess up. I know that there's loads of problems with the way I'm speaking into the camera, or the way I light my videos, or the way the sound works on them. And I don't mind. A lot of people I know that work in media, who I've asked when I was setting up videos for help, and I'm very, very grateful for all the help they've given me. But I've resisted going back and saying, here, what do you think of this? Can you give me some feedback on that? Because I think you should grow with the channel, unless you're absolutely oblivious, which I probably am at times. But that's okay. I'd much rather grow with people, because when you're doing a thesis, whether it's a master's or a PhD or any project you're working on, you're going to make mistakes at the start, and then eventually it gets better. So you think like, okay, well that's the way I'm supposed to do it. So I'm happy enough to grow and to make mistakes, and I'm very, anyone that's ever said to me, if you do this, and it's much better if you just do it this way, I'm very grateful for all the help, obviously. But I think for the moment it's just a case of trying to find myself in the camera, in the lens, and that's okay. And the new videos I have, most of them are just me with PowerPoint slides, but I figured out that my strength is to be messing around with something on the screen while I'm talking. I don't think the sitting in a chair staring at the camera, it works for me. I need something to play off. I need something to bounce off, whether it's another person or an exercise on the screen that I'm working on. That's why I think those videos where I'm actually doing the work on the screen or presenting something comes across as much better than a video where I'm just doing stuff off the cuff. There's probably a marriage of the two there that could work. So yeah, I finished that block of videos in the end of February, and I've given myself, so from the 10th of March onwards, I don't really have to shoot again until April, because I'll have enough videos to keep me going. But I'm going to try some new experimental stuff. I would like to do a video on how to have a YouTube channel, where I give out some of those tips and tricks to people. How to do. Look, I'm no expert on it, okay? Well, there's going to be someone that's like a rung below me on the ladder, and rather than just kick down, I'm just gonna. Well, here's how I help you up a bit, okay? It's just some basic stuff like how to try your best to talk in front of a camera, how to try your best with the lighting, what equipment I use, what programs I use, some of the AI stuff I use to help me with my presentations. There's some great AI software out there. I don't use it myself because I think it would take away from. I think a lot of my videos work because of the fact that I'm a bit all over the place. And I am a scattered individual. I'm not I'm not. You can't. There's no point hiring me to read a teleprompter and get it perfectly. I just can't do it. I'll start laughing, and I prefer to think through words and be very methodical and think out what I'm going to say. And a lot of it sounds like rambling, of course, but that's just my style. But there is AI technology that allows you to look off screen at the thing here. So you're reading it from here and you're going down the screen. But obviously it's very obvious that you're reading some. But the AI grabs your eyeballs and brings them back to the front of the screen. And it corrects them for you. So you can be reading off screen as much as you want. But in the actual video, the AI just has your eyeballs back at the screen. And I think there's a lot of people who do really well reading off teleprompters and reading off notes, and that's just the style they have. And if they were to set up a YouTube channel, I would offer them that type of advice. And I know there's a lot of academics out there that are probably using old forms of technology, old ways of doing stuff, old programs, sort of like, and there's a lot of great software out there that I know a lot of lecturers and supervisors and examiners don't know about. So that's another video. I want to try out stuff as well regarding stuff for teachers. Like, teachers are very near and dear to my heart. Like, I went to Mater Dei Institute, and obviously it's a teacher training college. So I was surrounded by teachers for years and years and years. And a lot of my teaching techniques and a lot of my, I'd say like a lot of my empathy and compassion and ability to see another side. Like, when someone starts plagiarizing something, I don't automatically go, you and me are going to have a chat in a, and it's not going to come off great for you. I'm always wondering, like, did that happen by accident? And if it didn't, why? Like, what made you do it? Same people who, every once in a while someone will ring me and go, can you write my thesis for me? And I'm like, no, I can't, because number one, I don't know. Like, if you've done a PhD, the last thing you want to do is do another thesis. But also, it's logistically, it's not true. There's no such thing. There's no, as much as people say someone wrote my thesis, no one wrote your thesis. Someone copied and pasted a load of different documents and then sent it to someone like me and said, can you edit this? Or can you proofread this? And then that gets sent to the person. So there's a whole sequence of people involved in that scam. Of course, the obvious one is the here's 20 grand to write my thesis. Okay, cool, yeah. I'll have it to you in a month. And then, okay, where's my thesis? It's like, what thesis? I never dealt with you before. Where do you go? You can't just go to your college and go, well, I paid someone to do my thesis. So it's the perfect scam. It really is. But less and less people are falling for it, which is great. But whenever someone contacts me and is like, can you write my thesis? I'm always like, come on. I'm always like, really? And I always try and talk them back down off that ledge, because to ask someone to write your thesis means you're in a really, really bad place. And for some reason, you've left at the last minute. And I want to know what can be done. Because no one wants to sit at their graduation and be handed a piece of paper that they didn't earn, in some respect. Like, you put in some work into it. Like, even if you come to someone like me and go, I wrote absolute shite. Can you help me fix it up a bit? I was like, okay, we can sit down and have a look here. What books are missing from your literature review? Your methodology needs a lot of work. Here's some examples of what you need to do. And that's sort of, and do a proofread, do an edit, help with the format and all that, fix up the reference, and it can be done. And I can always say to that person, like, did you enjoy your graduation? No, that you didn't. You came to me asking me to write your thesis, but I forced you to work with me for the next 2 months or so, and you enjoyed it, and you went back, and the most important thing is you went back to your company with skills that the company can use. Your company can't use you getting me to write your thesis or someone else is not a skill you bring back to the company. It's like, what did you learn in college? Well, I learned how to be involved in scams. Is that any use to you as a company? So, there's always things you have to consider. And I got that from Mater Dei. I got that from just being around like that really empathetic, compassionate side of teachers. And I always have a soft spot for teachers. I think there's lots of software and programs out there that teachers are not using or afraid to use. If I see one more Comic Sans presentation, I will scream. Yeah, it's just like Comic Sans is, it's a meme at this point, but people see the meme and they think, well, Comic Sans is still popular, I'm going to keep using it. That's not why it's a meme. It's a meme because it's so terrible. So I think a video on that would be very good to produce sometime in March. So yeah, I've lots of good ideas. I like teaching. I love showing people different types of knowledge. And I do hope at some point to set up another channel that focuses on art and movies, and things like that, history. Like, my own background is in history and languages and stuff like that. So I would like to talk more about that in a capacity that's away from career projections, because I understand from a business point of view, that the worst thing you can do is turn your channel into an assortment, like a licorice all sorts of videos, where like you're eagerly awaiting a video on how to do a systematic review, but lo and behold, Bill has uploaded his 6-hour critique of The Walking Dead. So there's no point in me putting all that crap on the one channel. So career projections will be kept clean and uniform. It's only going to be academic stuff, or stuff that has some relationship to academic material. And then the second channel, whenever I set it up, will be will allow me to go full blown mad. So yeah, I think that's probably enough now to be jabbering on about. Yeah, I mean, thanks to everyone who have been watching these vlogs. They may seem scattered at first, but that's okay. We'll eventually get to the crux of the matter. The stuff I want to talk about. Obviously, I want to do that. Interviews with different people doing their PhD. I want to talk a bit more in depth about that. I want to come back as well to employment, my experience of employment, and just experiences of like mental health as well. That's a very important one to talk about in relation to college. There's a lot of stuff I want to make videos about, but then I'm thinking to myself, maybe this is the better format for it, because I think people's expectation of the videos is that they're going to be stuff that's going to help them with their thesis. So if I release a video one week and it's just me talking about mental health in college, it's very important, but at the same time, I understand that person's annoyance because they want the second part to the academic writing example. So I think for anything to do with politics of college, all that sort of stuff, I'll probably keep to the vlogs here. I'll maybe make a once in a blue moon video on it. But yeah, no, thanks to everyone. It's very interesting communicating with people this way, and yeah, it's onwards and upwards. We're gonna see where this goes.